Anthem TV, a free streaming digital community. With a click of a mouse or a tap on your phone, you have instant access to free TV shows, movies on demand, music, pay-per-view events, and so much more. Download Anthem TV on your smartphone, smart TV, or any streaming device and enjoy instant access. Subscribe and download Anthem TV today.
And welcome to the Texas Weather Connection here on Anthem Television on this very cold Martin Luther King Day and Inauguration Day. And we are very cold down here in South Texas. I am meteorologist Robert Luna.
Meteorologist Brian Silva braving it out here in the cold.
Hey, I'm meteorologist Sergio Lozano. Yeah, guys, we finally got some weather to talk about, it seems. So let's get to it.
Let's get to it. We got lots to talk about.
Yes, and I'm looking at my thermometer out here. It is a very balmy 35 degrees over here on the far west side of San Antonio, over here in the Potranco and Tally area. So temperatures right above freezing. And that's not good news, guys. That's not good news that we haven't modified our temps as much as what was the thinking going into today.
And I know we were, all three of us were talking on a text message early this morning where the clouds came in a few hours earlier than predicted, which meant that surge of moisture was coming right into the area.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't take much. A degree or two can make a big difference when this precipitation starts. So, yeah, those clouds came in, and I kind of saw it before I went to bed last night. I could see them already coming into the lower Rio Grande Valley, and I was like, man, that's a little ahead of schedule. So these winter storm systems always have a mind of their own. Models always can't do a real good job all the time with it, and so they always throw a wrench in the system, and that was one of the wrenches they already threw at us. So,
yeah, and that's why we always say, and we say it on our weather page. 5-10 days out, it's way too far ahead for our area to really nail down what's going to happen. And even 2-3 days out, we were looking at 2-3 days ago that we were going to get a bit of freezing rain here, some sleet, and then maybe an inch or two of snow. And guys, it looks like things have changed in the last 24 hours based on the data coming in.
Right. So it looks like the models are transitioning more to an icy situation, which makes it just pretty much the city's going to shut down because of the ice. It's just not a good situation. And even though temperatures right now are above freezing, that dew point is down near 10 degrees. So you're going to get that evaporative cooling, and temperatures are going to quickly drop below freezing as we go to late afternoon. And then the sun goes down, even though we're cloudy, that'll cause another drop in temperature.
Yeah, you can always tell when it's true Arctic air when those dew points are in the single digits and teens. It's a big difference. It gives you those chappy lips. You're shocking yourself all over the house. I don't know if you guys experienced that, but that's very indicative of what a true.
Yeah, this is true Arctic air that we are dealing with here. I mean, it is beyond bitter, beyond cold, and this is a much colder air mass than what we dealt with last week and a week and a half ago. This has origins way from up in the Arctic, the Siberian area. It's just brutal cold, and with these winds, I mean, it's just I'm bundled up out here.
Yeah, if you're going to be outside, you got to layer, but make sure you're in layers to keep warm.
And what's interesting, guys, is as a low pressure system, what we call the coastal trough, develops tonight, as it tightens along the Texas Gulf Coast, that's going to induce even stronger winds tonight. I think we might get gusts back up to around 30 miles an hour as that system really strengthens strengthens off the coast and moves its way toward the Houston area. So yeah, the winds, if anything, are going to pick up, and that'll mean the wind chills by tomorrow morning are going to be way down on top of everything.
Likely into the teens or maybe even a little bit lower, but
yeah. So let's kind of get into some details here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with what National Weather Service pretty early this morning. They went off and actually last night, I think they upgraded pretty much the area to a winter storm warning. So parts of the area, not the entire parts of South Texas. The western parts, we're looking at winter weather advisory, still looking at some potential for some hazardous conditions out there. But it looks like based on where this low pressure is situating itself off the coast, it's not going to bring as much moisture into our western counties. Again, they're still going to be in that threat of getting maybe some freezing rain, some sleet. but the accumulation wise is not going to be as severe as what we'll see points along the I-35 corridor heading down I-10 towards Houston, and then especially down towards Corpus and the coastline, and even into the Rio Grande Valley. I mean, there's some potential down there for some pretty hazardous conditions developing later tonight as well.
Right. So it's this coastal low, and we're talking of troughs coming in from the west, and this coastal low down to probably around Corpus Christi, around that area will intensify. And that's what Sergio talked about, the north winds quickly as things circulate counterclockwise. You start seeing that colder air advection, but at the same time, just above the upper levels, you do have some warm air coming in. So people have been talking, it's like, well, why aren't we getting the snow? And usually we have that warm layer somewhere. And we saw that last week. They talked a lot about it, where that warm nose came into the Dallas area, and they were transitioning between snow, freezing rain, and now that's going to be our cause of why we don't get snow. But that'll change as it shifts toward the Houston area. They will likely see more snow than we're going to get, way more snow than what we're going to get.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is a lot of, you know, the system that's coming in is kind of a unique system in that it's counterintuitive. You would think colder and snowier to the west and north of town. Normally the hill country is what we have to worry about. But because of the orientation of the coastal trough and the incoming upper level disturbance, it's actually along and east of the I-35 corridor, and actually along and east of the 281 corridor, like you said, going down to the Valley, Brian. So kind of a unique, and it will end up being probably a historic storm as it makes its way toward Houston and even toward Louisiana. I mean, these are places that normally don't get snow anytime, and they're going to be getting to upwards to half a foot of snow. No doubt it's going to cause not only travel disruptions, but infrastructure interruptions as well. So back here in town, as we kind of zoom back into San Antonio, Austin area and San Marcos, I do think that ice accretion is going to be our main issue instead of our, you know, earlier we were thinking it was going to be a little bit more of a snow sleet issue. Unfortunately, ice is what causes more damage. And that will cause travel disruption. And as you guys know, even a tenth of an inch of ice can cause all kinds of problems here. I mean, a few hundredths of an inch of ice can shut down the city here. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on the conditions as they quickly deteriorate after sundown tonight.
One thing of note, I know when we get the ice, we get the freezing rain, the freezing mist. One thing that I want people to have the most caution, and that's happened to me before. I come out, and even though I take a correct step, I went falling down because you cannot get a grip. Your shoes will not get a grip on that surface. It is a nice skating rink out there, and you're gonna fall down. So please, the way that starts icing, stay indoors and don't go outside. It's very dangerous.
And for that reason, you know, we've seen over the last couple of hours, since about 11:30 this morning, pretty much most of the school districts here in the San Antonio area have canceled school for tomorrow. The big ones, San Antonio, Northeast, Northside, and then many of the smaller ones, Harlandale,
South San,
Edgewood, South San,
Judson. That's all.
I believe Medina Valley has also canceled. So it's safe to say that there's no point in taking chances, putting people out in danger of the roads, because once it begins, once we're down to 32, I mean, we're, like I said, we're at 35 right now here on the far west side. Once we get down to 32 and we start having that precipitation coming down, it's going to start icing over pretty quickly, especially on the bridges. Those are going to be the first ones to go.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up something that Robert mentioned. Normally when it's borderline 31, 32, we normally just have to worry about the bridges and overpasses, but it's been so cold lately that our ground temps have really cooled down quite a bit. And with us only getting into the mid 30s today and not much what we call insulation, we didn't get much sun. Even sidewalks, like you said, secondary streets, if they haven't been pre-treated with the brine or even salt or anything like that, you could start having problems on those roads. And like I said, it doesn't take much. Yeah. And so, like I said, this is not really kind of like 30, 31, 32. We might be in the 20s. So this is cold enough to where things that normally don't even freeze will begin icing up. So just be careful if you're going out, even in your back patio, to get a few things or something. Just stay indoors. I do think it's going to be a pretty big mess tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's show everybody. I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here so we can kind of show everybody what data we've been keeping track of. Again, the big thing that we like to see is when the high resolution models start coming in, and those have a much shorter window. So we've been waiting for days. Finally, Friday, we started getting a taste of what some of the models are saying, and then as we got into Saturday, we started getting more and more data, and it's been fine tuning over the last 24 hours, and we've seen changes. We definitely have seen that change to where it looked like we were going to maybe get that snowfall towards the end, more snow than the ice. And now it's looking more like a freezing rain situation than what we're going to see in terms of snowfall. So let me go ahead and bring up this screen here. And so this is for this afternoon and this evening. And guys, go ahead and just fill us in. Tell us what everybody's seeing here with these colors.
Go ahead, Sergio.
Yeah, so you can see up in the Panhandle, that blue, that's the snow that's coming in with the upper level disturbance. So up there in the Panhandle, they'll get a quick dusting. But as you can see, as it approaches from the south, there's deepening of that trough up in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's causing widespread precipitation to break out. And the issue is going to be when the precipitation really gets going in earnest after sundown, probably after 10 o'clock tonight, you start seeing it really expand that precipitation shield. And unfortunately, by that time, we'll be at or below freezing for most areas. And then you can see all the red, that's freezing rain and sleet pretty much. It's a mix. And the blue is going to represent the snow. On the northern edge of the precipitation shield, you can see that the snow. And of course, green is representing rain, where it's a little too warm for any of that. Down along the immediate coastlines, down into the deep valley, they should remain rain. But if this verifies, like it's showing here, guys, with freezing rain like that, we could have a pretty big mess on our hand.
Yeah, and this looks to be going, as far south as into the valley. I believe all the way down to McAllen has a winter storm warning. And I think I can't remember, I have to check, but I think the Brownsville area, they were issued a winter weather advisory, if I'm not mistaken, if not a winter storm warning. So the potential is there that this is going to be a mess, not just here in the San Antonio Hill Country areas, Austin area, but points further south than us that, again, don't typically see this type of weather. And I know we had the 2021 massive snowstorm. Everybody in the state was under a winter storm warning, and it was just a chaotic thing. This is nowhere near that. Let's just make that very clear. This is nowhere near that. But at the same time, just a little bit of ice can cripple an entire city, an entire community. So when we see,
and it's looking much like if you took a line, I-10 is kind of like the delineating line of where you're going to see the precipitation shield be. I mean, yes, there will be some north of there, like Austin will get some, but like from here to Houston, travel will probably be very non-advisable tomorrow.
Not advisable.
It's going to be a mess.
And so this is the same model. This one's broken down into 15-minute intervals, so we can definitely see how it's more sporadic across the area. But then you see as we get towards the end of this that it starts filling in, and that's what we don't want to see, because within that solid shield of precipitation, we could start seeing some heavier showers. We're not talking about like tropical downpours, nothing like that, but enough in this case that it's gonna put down some good little rainfall for it being this cold. We're going to see ice really, really build up at that point. And again, that's just something that is not going to be a good situation. Hopefully with these winds, we don't see too many issues with power outages, with power lines and everything. That's my main concern here in terms of I know we dealt with the power outages back in the 2021 snowstorm. This is going to be a whole different situation in terms of power outage. It's not going to be the grid for the state. This is going to be localized. So I anticipate that, again, this is going to be a mess. It really is. And right now the timing looks like it's about 2:40 right now. The models have it really going maybe around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then really, really into the evening and early night hours, it's going to really, really kick up. So
it really picks up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would think, like you said, most of the precipitation will be while we're sleeping tonight. The real bad, basically, if you have anything left to do, you have the next few hours to do that. We're already starting to see. We're just talking about the a little bit of returns coming in already from the Corpus area down through Hebbronville, Alice. The first signs of that mist is starting to move up to the north. Now, initially, it should be liquid. We're above freezing, and it'll take a while for the what we call top down saturation to occur. But it won't be too long before we start having a mess on our hands. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the trends here. The HRRR has been pretty consistent in showing this, and like you said, Brian, if this verifies, we could have a pretty big mess on our hands.
Right.
Yeah, and with like I said, the temperature right now, I'm looking at my thermometer, 35 degrees. The humidity has actually started to climb a little bit out here too, in the mid 30s now. So we're starting to see that humidity increase, which means that we're getting closer to the time period where we're going to start seeing some precip falling from the sky. That dew point is going to start climbing up as well, and it's like I said, it's just a matter of time before we start seeing a mess out here.
Brian says he has 35 degrees. I know that just at the airport, they're at 34 degrees right now. So, so pretty consistent temperatures across the county.
Yeah.
And so it won't take much. We're just a couple degrees from freezing.
Bring up the radar so we can show everybody what's going on. So this is, go ahead and change to reflectivity here. So at the moment, we can see that, I mean, there's really nothing reaching the ground, nothing, really
of any consequence yet.
Yeah. If you, I mean, it might be tough to see on screens, but if you kind of see in that Floresville area, moving into Bexar County, it's a little, almost like a shade of very light blue. And so that's what we're seeing is in terms of the moisture starting to roll in, it's getting closer. Now, none of this is probably reaching the ground at this point, but we know that further south into the Corpus area, west of Corpus, we know that there has been returns of light rain. We've actually had some reports of some light freezing drizzle. Just, I believe it was in the Hebbronville area. So it's beginning. It's moving in, and it's a little bit ahead of schedule, but it is. Let me go ahead and zoom out here.
I know Laredo's just above freezing, but they're starting to see some light drizzle as well in that area. So
I guess our saving grace, guys, is the system is pretty progressive. So
yes.
It's not going to stall. We're not going to have days of this. It's going to be in here. It's pretty much a 12-hour window, I would say, from 6 p.m. tonight to about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. That's going to be our window of main concern.
Yeah.
And then obviously we can't rule out a few snow flurries in the morning, but by the time most people wake up and enjoying their day off tomorrow, really, it should be pretty much out of here. So
yeah. And so this is what we'll be looking at in terms of the radar later. So this depicts what is falling out of the sky. Again, we see some light greens on here. Again, nothing's reaching the ground at this point. I'm out here. I can tell you there's nothing falling, but at least at the surface, nothing is falling.
At the surface, yeah.
But as the atmosphere gets more saturated, as we start to see this reach the ground, we'll see these colors later this evening as that we reach that 32-degree mark where it'll start turning red. So you see us starting to update the radar later, and you see that there's some red colors where that's where we're talking about some of the freezing rain, maybe some sleet mixed in. And if there's any blues, then that's where we may see a few snowflakes mixing in there with whatever precip is falling at the time.
I was going to talk just looking at some of the observations. Stinson on the south side, their cloud deck has gone from 6,000 feet to 5,000 feet, and now they're at 3,900 feet. So that cloud deck's lowering, and we're saturating the ground. And again, we'll start seeing the dew points get closer. We'll start seeing the fog, and then the mist will start. And that'll probably be the progression. And then we'll start seeing that mist get heavier and heavier.
Now, one thing I must say, and these winter systems tend to throw, like I said, wrenches in there. You can always get what we call mesoscale banding. So, and that's where lift happens to happen in a very localized area, and it's just almost impossible to predict. But in those bands, you can get a little bit more heavier precipitation.
Yeah.
And if it's cold enough, that's where that's where, you know, the National Weather Service is saying, you know, there could be an isolated 2 to 3 inch snowfall out there. You know, there's just no way to know where that would be.
Or that's gonna be-
It's not likely here in town, of course, but not to say that we can't get a band of heavier sleet and freezing rain here, you know, to get our accumulations up to a quarter inch. You never know. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Like, we're not predicting that, but it's just not off the table. You know, you can get these mesoscale banding features depending on how the system interacts with the moisture coming in and evolves. So,
you know, and talking about that, you know, I know the Houston National Weather Service, they've talked about that as well, because there's the possibility that, you know, they're predicting anywhere between maybe 3 to 5 inches, which for them would be historic in the Houston area. But again, with some of that banding, some of that heavier precipitation, no clue where that's going to develop, no clue where that's going to hit. But the areas that do get it could see up to 6 to 8 inches out there of snow.
Yeah,
and we're talking about this winter storm, not just here in San Antonio, not in Houston, but all the way through Louisiana. New Orleans under a winter storm warning, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, Mobile, Alabama, all the way into the panhandle of Florida.
And it's weird. I was thinking with I-10 could actually be shut down from San Antonio and all the way to Florida,
all the way to almost Jacksonville, honestly.
All the way to Jacksonville,
they have winter storm watches, I think, up for almost the Jacksonville area.
All of I-10.
Yeah, the Duval County out there, they got the chance tomorrow night to be getting into this weather. So this is going to be a very large system. Again, we're just in the very beginning of it, so we're not going to get the full brunt of what they're going to get, which again is probably a good thing for us.
Yes.
But at the same time, we're still going to be in that beginning window where we're going to see definitely disruptions here in the San Antonio area, and you know, even into the hill country. It may not be as severe, but more here along the I-35 corridor, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, going out east towards Seguin, going down towards Corpus, 281 south. It's going to be a mess. Go ahead and
so yeah, we just want to say, you know, don't travel unless it's absolutely necessary, and if you're doing that, you need to take it easy. You know, give yourself plenty of space. Slow down before you get to the bridge if they haven't shut it down, not while you're on the bridge. I see that happen so many times. You got to slow down prior to getting to the bridge, and then you know, release your foot off the accelerator. And so just a few tips if you're going to be out and about, but I highly recommend that you don't do that in this kind of a scenario. But, you know, for the kids wanting to wake up in the morning and build snowmen and snowballs, it doesn't look like that's in the cards this time.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen.
But who knows? You know, we might get a few snow flurries for curiosity, and you know, it's always a fun and exciting time down here in South Texas when that happens.
Hey, you know what? You might be able to grab a little bit of it off the cars and make a little snowball, maybe a little miniature snowman. These are the projected snowfall and sleet accumulations that National Weather Service is thinking. And honestly, I really agree with them in terms of less than an inch. I think we, you know, maybe a couple of spots, like you said, may get a heavier band towards the end of this, as the storm's exiting the region, and we see the transition over to maybe some snowflakes in there. But overall, I mean, I really don't see the snow being. It's going to be more ice dominant on this one.
Right, exactly. You have to get, and I was thinking, I think people that want to see the snow, you'd have to go out to Gonzales, around the Buc-ee's, and eastward from there. That's where the snow's really gonna get going.
Yeah, and this is the ice. This is the ice accumulation that we're talking about, the freezing rain. And again, it looks like it's nothing, right? A hundredth of an inch to a tenth of an inch. A hundredth of an inch, it starts to have an effect on the roads, on the bridges. And we've seen some of the latest runs from our high res models that are showing close to 0.2 of an inch,
maybe a little bit more than this, right?
Yes.
That's the scary part.
That would be devastating if we see something like that. I believe it was last year that Austin had that severe ice storm, and that was just absolutely brutal for them. And so, you know, we're hoping that we don't reach that, but at the moment, based on what we saw in the trends, it's looking like it could be a possibility here. So we'll have to keep an eye on how the intensity of the precipitation is tonight.
And the reason we get power outages, if we do get this much ice, again, all this ice is accumulating on a lot of tree branches, and then they snap. And if they're overgrown on a power line, that's when we get the issues.
And I know out here on Potranco, we saw over the last several weeks, they were out here cutting down the branches that were over the power
Oh,
lines.
that's good.
So they were
That's
at
good.
least trying to
Preventative.
Again,
Yeah, that's
in
good.
a city as big as San Antonio, not everybody can have their road cleared out, you know, where the power lines are at and the tree branches are hanging over. So definitely it's going to be an issue if we do see enough weight on those tree limbs to snap, and then we'll start seeing those power outages happen. So
yeah, and I'm thinking, you know, I was looking over the latest data and then what you showed on the HRRR there for our high res. It looks like San Antonio again is going to kind of be on that dividing line, like from here to the east southeast of here is going to be pretty icy. So yeah, I would not be surprised if we get between a tenth to quarter inch here in town. And quarter inch is normally our threshold when you start really having, like you said, Robert, tree limbs coming down, being weighed down, and power lines being snapped and such. So not to say that you can't get that with the weaker tree, or you know, it's the dead of winter out here, so there's no leaves on the trees either. So I mean, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that.
Right, and the other thing that adds to with this system, again, those gusty winds, as that low intensifies, it's gonna add some stronger winds, gust every so often, and that could cause some issues as well. So.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people were asking me on my page, like, why is it a winter storm warning? You know, we're barely going to get it. Well, these are the things that they take into consideration: time of the year, demographically speaking, and then amounts, right, of what could worst case scenario happen. And some of the worst case scenarios have us at a quarter inch. So you have to account for that. And I agree with the Weather Service going with this winter storm warning.
Winter storm warning.
Yeah, and you know that doesn't take out the fact that, you know, counties west of us with you know, Uvalde and Valverde and Kenny, and these are in winter weather advisories, but those could easily be upgraded to winter storm warnings later on if National Weather Service deems that, hey, it's not as light as what we thought for those areas. We need to upgrade this as well. So
it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Exactly.
And we've also had times where we don't get anything. I don't think that's going to happen on this case.
No, I think we already see the moisture coming our way.
Yeah. All signs are pointing towards this being definitely a winter storm for us to have to contend with. And on top of that, guys, I mean, this is what we used to have is the wind chill. Was it the wind chill advisory?
Yes.
Now it's the cold weather advisory. Pretty much, it's downright cold. It's simple as that. And these are the temperatures that you know, with the wind chills, it's windy out here, it's gusty. I'm sitting out here, and you know, even though I'm bundled up, I can still feel it once that breeze hits. Bundle up, because this is not the type of cold that you want to be outside without any type of protection.
What's very interesting, the wintry precipitation ends late tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. We could actually see the sun late in the day tomorrow, but it's going to be very cold. Temperatures are going to drop like a rock as we go through Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and most areas around this South Central Texas are going to be in the teens as you wake up Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I think that'll be our low point. And, you know, this is the kind of cold that we have to worry about pipes bursting, infrastructure issues. I saw it this morning. Somebody forgot to turn off their sprinkler at my dentist's office on my way to the appointment, and people were trying to avoid it. It was in the middle of the street. It was iced over, you know? So these are things that you don't normally have to think about down here. But when we have it this cold for this prolonged time, you do have to turn off those sprinklers. You do have to dress in layers, because hypothermia is a real issue when it's this cold. You know, space heaters causing fires. There's been a few already that have happened in the last week. So take all those necessary precautions. And you guys know, once the Arctic air is here, it's kind of hard to dislodge. And we will eventually get there. I think you'll see here in a little bit. But just know that just because the precipitation ends, the cold does not. And like you said, Robert, we might wake up to 18, 19 degrees come Wednesday morning.
And the worst part about this is that, let's say that we do have quite a bit of moisture tonight, right? Quite a bit of freezing rain, some ice, and some of the streets remain wet throughout the day tomorrow. We don't have the evaporation taking place completely. We could be dealing with some black ice come Wednesday morning across the roadways again, because again, it's going to be well below freezing. And so it's the possibility that we could have some issues even Wednesday morning, even though the precip's long gone.
Yep, that's true. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully, with the sun working on the ground tomorrow and the wind, we'll get some sublimation. So hopefully it won't be too big of a problem. But yeah, definitely like in shaded areas, still bridges and overpasses. You have to be careful.
Yeah, and one of our top fans, John Viegas, said, "I still say the storm overperforms." Ha ha.
Yeah.
The moisture and clouds came in early today, and yes, they did. They definitely did come in early.
They
And
did.
honestly, I kind of agree with him. I think this storm is going to overperform a little bit. I think we're going to get a little bit more in terms, at least, of the ice than what we were forecasted originally. And then he's asking, after this week, do y'all see more cold in the coming weeks? You know what? It's winter, and it's going to be open season at this point for some more cold air to come down. At the moment, we're just focused on what's happening in the next 4 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then we'll start analyzing what we're going to see beyond
down the road.
Thursday. Yeah. And I know there was some that, if you read our post last week, we talked about, we don't like posting all these, big old model reaches from, 7, 10, 14 days out. A lot of pages do that to get the clicks, the views. Yeah. And there was already somebody that was posting out there that we're going to have another winter storm this Friday. And they had posted that like 3 days ago. It's like,
no,
hold on. Let's get to the winter storm first. This is way too far out in advance. We're not even going to entertain that idea. No. And I'll tell you right now, you look at our forecast right now, we're going to still be cold in the mornings, but it ain't looking like no winter storm coming at the end of this week. So it's something that, again, especially in winter or even during tropical season, you look out, week, 2 week in advance in terms of the models, you really can't take those for granted at all. I mean, it's just something that you'll see one thing in the morning, and then the next model run, it's something completely opposite, or it's gone. So
agree.
So this is why we wait until the very, very, right up to the storm to see what's going to happen. And we're trying to bring you the best that we see in terms of the latest data coming in. We like to rely on that data. So it is downright cold, gentlemen. And let's show them some hope.
Yes.
Some hope, hopefully, for the end here.
7-day forecast.
Yeah. So the SA 7-day, we, I have 34 across the area, 35 degrees. Like I said, it's still 35 over here. It's pretty consistent across the city. We threw in that. I don't think we've ever had to use that icon of clouds with some snowflakes, some rain in there. We got definitely a mix that's going to happen later. Again, we're looking at the time frame of maybe it's now 3 o'clock. So maybe, like I said, 5 to 8 o'clock, we'll start seeing some precip begin.
Right.
We'll definitely see the transition over to some freezing precip later this evening. And it looks like, after sunrise tomorrow, we should be fine overall. I mean, we'll start clearing things out. Temps will rebound above freezing tomorrow. So again, we should be able to get things back to hopefully normal soon. And then that low bottoms out Wednesday morning, 19 degrees. And that's just for here in the downtown area of San Antonio. We're talking about the outskirts. We're looking at 17, 16, the hill country, 15
degrees,
14, maybe even lower in some spots. So if you have to get out early Wednesday morning, late Tuesday night, bundle up. This is where you start having effects on your body with these types of temperatures. So be very careful with that. But guys, look at the rest of the way. I mean, we start going back
to business.
Everybody's excited about Sunday. I think like, wow, let's get there.
They want to. I know that's when the AFC and the NFC championships are. So they're probably doing, barbecues ahead of time here. So at the moment, Sunday right now, it's looking good.
Yeah, the barbecues at 70 degrees is going to feel like, whoa, it's going to feel like 80, 90 degrees after this cold weather.
Yeah, no kidding. By the time we get to midweek when it's in the 50s, we're going to be like, whoa, bring out the shorts, But it's going to be baby steps. You got to get baby steps out of here, right? So we got to crawl our way out. And but the sun does go a long way, even this time of year. This far in latitude, you get a full day of sun, and you start, modifying that air mass pretty good. But for right now though, man, this is no joke cold, coming in from, like you said, Siberia and northern Russia. So no joke.
But other than that, we will keep everybody updated as this progresses into the late afternoon and the early evening hours here. Again, conditions are going to change and going to change very quickly for us. But like I said, we will keep you updated. We'll be posting radar updates, temperature updates across the area, and any new warnings that may have to be issued for our counties west. We'll definitely get you updated on that as well from the National Weather Service. Other than that, I'm meteorologist Brian Silva. Thank you for joining us. I hope you did not do like me and sit out in the cold watching this. I hope you're indoors and maybe some hot chocolate or hot coffee or hot tea or something. I'm out here with my ice cold cold water.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm meteorologist Robert Luna, and I want you all to stay warm and stay at home. Don't get out on the roadways. It's going to get pretty dangerous, especially you go through the nighttime hours tomorrow morning. So avoid, especially the elevated highways early as this event progresses. The elevated highways will be the issue, and then the other roads, especially around hills, those will become the issue as well as we go through early tomorrow morning.
Yep, and I'm meteorologist Sergio Lozano. Like everybody said, just take it easy. Hey, use this time to finish putting up a few things. If you still have Christmas decorations like we do, I don't know why, but we still do, and we need to put those down. And anyway, play some board games around a fire or something like that. But yeah, if you got to be out and about, knock that out here in the next few hours. You still got a little bit of time. I know HEB here locally is going to be cutting down their hours, it looks like, which is good for their employees to get home safely, hopefully. And so, yeah, no need to be out there if HEB's closed, right? And
Exactly.
so anyway, we hope y'all stay warm, safe, and we'll keep you updated.
All righty. Y'all have a
All
good
right.
one.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us here on Anthem Television. Have a great, warm, hopefully, rest of your day.
Anthem TV, a free streaming digital community. With a click of a mouse or a tap on your phone, you have instant access to free TV shows, movies on demand, music, pay-per-view events, and so much more. Download Anthem TV on your smartphone, smart TV, or any streaming device and enjoy instant access. Subscribe and download Anthem TV today.